With us now is Ashley Davis, a former special assistant to the Homeland Security Director and former White House official under President George W. Bush. Ashley, it's always great to see you. Welcome back.
So nice to see you.
And I want to mention to our viewers, you are also an author. You're releasing your debut book. It's titled The Power Pivot with Grit, Grace, and Growth. I have you on the show a lot, and I have to tell you, I can't wait to read this book. Let's dive in. We will take.
Thank you.
President Donald Trump has removed Kristi Noem as Homeland Security Secretary. He plans to replace her with Senator Markwayne Mullin. Based on your prior experience, what does this leadership shakeup signal about the direction and the priorities of DHS?
Well, first of all, I think the number one issue is no drama. And I've known Markwayne for a long time, since he was in the House, actually, and he will not have drama, but he does have the same beliefs as the president has in regards to the border, closing the border, make sure there's a path to citizenship, and making sure that our country's safe. The key role of this department is managing the 260,000 employees that it has, and also the 22 agencies, remember, that we actually forced together almost 25 years ago. So it's a huge job, and I think what happened with Secretary Noem is that there was just too much chaos around her. And then after the her testifying this week in front of Congress, there were some things that the president definitely were not happy about, and I think that that was kind of the nail in the coffin for her.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about Noem. As I mentioned earlier, she's stepping into her new role as special envoy for the Shield of the Americas. She spoke yesterday. She said she will focus on coordinating with Latin American countries on security and anti-cartel efforts. From your experience, extensive experience in Homeland Security, how might this initiative shape U.S. engagement in the region? And we have to talk about the long-term security strategy as well.
Well, listen, let's see how her position actually develops. Let's remember that it's a position that has been created. It actually reports to the Secretary of State, so she will report to Marco Rubio. I would think that there's going to be a lot of coordination between the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of the Secretary of State, and also probably DOD. But listen, I think the initiative in general is fantastic. I mean, it's really about making sure the drug cartels are not taking over countries that ultimately have things that come into our country in regards to drugs. So I'm 100% for it. I think it's yet to be seen what her role will actually be and how much actually the role of the Secretary of State will actually be.
Ashley,
it was a soft landing.
It was a soft landing. It really was. And actually, I was waiting to see if she would speak yesterday, and she did. So that was interesting. This is all happening amid the partial government shutdown. The Department of Homeland Security dealing with funding and, of course, operation challenges that has been going on for some time now. How critical is congressional funding and oversight currently? What could this transition at the top of DHS mean for its future priorities, Ashley?
Well, first of all, I do want to say I think that Markwayne will definitely get confirmed. He has a lot of allies in the Senate. I mean, this is why I think you'll see a lot of senators potentially become cabinet secretaries after the midterms, because they can actually get confirmed. You already see that Fetterman is going to support him. So I do think that he is going to have a really good ability to manage without any drama, as I talked about earlier. But I think from the DHS funding perspective, the problem is there's not like a smoking gun that's getting people to move through and stop getting in their sides of extreme. Both the Republicans and the Democrats are stuck in their positions. And the reason why is you have the Coast Guard, which is actually considered an agency that has to be funded, so you don't really need that funding right now. And TSA and other parts of the department are also already funded by fees that you pay as individuals to become part of that program. So there's no tipping point yet in regards to making the two sides come together and actually negotiate. I think it could be a while. I think it actually could wait until September.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.